First, I want to thank everyone for joining us today. I know everyone has a busy schedule. You have many other things that are going on in your day. So taking the time today, we greatly appreciate. We will be making a recording of the event available over the next week. Couple shout outs. I want to thank our presenters for taking time to share with us. Thank you to our clients for working with us through this challenging time, sharing your experiences, and being very open and honest about what's going on and what we can all do to work together to do better. We're all in the business of reinventing the future. We're inventing who we're going to be and how we're going to interact with each other. I thought it was awesome today to see folks from different companies, different industries, all coming together, sharing openly, collaborating, and building on each other's ideas. While we don't know what the future will be, I don't know which shape curve or even how probable I think that curve is. I'm hoping for the V. I'm hoping we're on the way back up. We don't know what it holds, but I took away some key themes from the day that I think are definitely true. One theme was the power of stories. Jim Donald early in the day talked about how even just the word story lights up our brains and engages us. And I found that to be 100% true throughout the day. Every time one of our presenters talked about a story, I was immediately engaged and fully disconnected from the email or whatever else I had going on my desktop at that time. So I think that's something we could all learn about how do we communicate digitally. Stories are powerful. I also heard that the message of rapid acceleration of prior trends loud and clear throughout the day. Jim Norwood talked about frictionless commerce. Ken Bayer from Ingram talked about commerce going from 10% to 25% of digital in just 3 months. These were a theme that was reiterated throughout the day and definitely sounds a lot different than retail from just 6 months ago. While definitely there will be some correction after the current situation, I think we can all agree that it's going to look very much different in the future than it did in the past. Tom, any key thoughts that stood out to you?
Yeah, I have some, and as you heard, my dog has some as well. But yeah, no, I wrote down a whole bunch of thoughts throughout the day. It did strike me early, and you mentioned too, Jim Donald talking about the power of storytelling. You know, today was a story, right? I mean, this whole last 3.5 hours was a story that I think, I know I personally really enjoyed. But we're in the middle of a story right now, right? I mean, what we're all experiencing through this in our businesses and how we're running our companies and our teams, like we're in the story, right? So, let's get out there and write the next chapters and get after it and be positive. I thought the discussions on capital, that how capital advantaged companies, generally the big guys today, are in the best position to innovate through this. And of course, we're seeing them do that. But that also, being small and scrappy, that is, as long as you can properly de-invest and get the right capital to apply, you can be really effective in doing that and being nimble in doing that. I was really struck by the level-headedness of approach of Beth Stiller. Obviously a business that's just so impacted by what we're seeing today, and yet I thought her approach was more than admirable, and the way she was talking about being nimble and approaching that was really cool. We heard throughout that COVID has been an accelerant, right? I think we all feel that we've pushed retail, particularly in e-commerce and brand engagement, 3 years forward abruptly. Don't know that we'll even back off that at all. I think we're all rolling forward. Jim Norwood talking about disrupting yourself. Don't wait for disruption to come to you. I think that's really, really key. And that was one thing that we back in our Amazon days, right? That's how we were wired. You were never satisfied with where you were at. You were always, programmed to just out innovate what you're doing today. Ann Zabowski and her group talking about agility. I thought it was cool when Ken Bayer said that logistics is sexy now. Not as sexy as Luke Spiller, but still pretty sexy. And I really enjoyed, the conversation with Luke. Just getting him in and hearing the perspective of somebody in the music business. And to me, it was really positive to hear, that he is able to take the good out of this, right, and enjoy the rest that he's getting. And I think, we've all had our routines really disrupted by this, and if we can find the good in the new routine, we can really that can really provide us a lot of personal fuel and enrichment. I thought the last brand panel fantastic. The imperative to evolve. being willing to change, being willing to reinvent yourself, and changing, what you mean as a brand and how you do it. And I thought Val closing it with a message of, taking advantage of this current time to mobilize was really fantastic. And it did feel like I'm with you, Justin. I would love this to be a V, but I think our general sentiment today was that we're in a W. But hey, if that's what we're in, that's what we're in, and I think we're all going to face it as best we can. I will say, and this is not a commercial for our companies, although we love them. That's what we do every day. I think we feel very fortunate that we are, running companies like Ideoclick and helping folks, with their e-commerce go to market, particularly with Amazon, and that we're running Replenium and we're helping retailers and brands, work with shoppers in new ways. I think it's really exciting. I'm thrilled that we're in those businesses, and I'm thrilled to continue writing our book, the next chapters in our book as we move forward.
I agree. Yes, it is. They're exciting, and it's a great spot to be. To build on one of your themes there, obviously one of my favorite presentations throughout the day was the struts, and one thing about them was I was just impressed how impactful music is. I've had an opportunity to do some of the online stuff with different bands and seeing them perform in their living rooms, dealing with their kids and their homeschooling issues and all of that. Just something about that is so cool. And I actually prefer kind of the online low production quality music that's more authentic and closer to the source, which I thought was so cool. Not just cool, but engaged, parts of your brain that are really worn out after a day of Zoom calls. You go 30 minutes, 30 minutes, 30 minutes, and your brain just can't engage and do the things that some of our other presenters talked about. It's not just for our sanity. So to reinvent your business model, as you mentioned, Beth was doing from Massage Envy, or to reinvent the customer and product experience that Jessica and Mary were describing in the product and customer experience sections. You just can't do that when you have a few minutes between Zoom videos. You have to take time, engage your brain in different ways. One other key thing that really stood out to me is no one seems like they're going to miss the paper circular. So I feel bad for all those newspapers out there producing those, but that one seems like it's on the way out. And thank you to Sean Riley for the strong message of hope and the strong confidence that we're bouncing back out of this thing right away. I certainly hope you're right. And I think I'm going to go on Amazon and go get a sand timer now, so I can get my tasks more aligned. Back to you, Tom.
Yeah, well, I think that we're obviously facing times we've never faced before, and I think we need to continually find new energy in approaching what's in front of us. And Justin, you have a particular mantra that has kind of served us both in business and then sometimes maybe even a little bit outside of business. And I want to ask you, how old are you today?
We're all the same age. We are as young as we will ever be.
And I think that's a really strong message. You have everything in front of you now, and it's all about making the best of what we have, thinking hard about what we're doing in our teams and our products and our processes, and going out and making it happen. And that's a perfect segue into our last musical number of the day from the Struts. It's an anthem, probably their first big hit. And I would encourage you to listen to the words. The name of the song is Could Have Been Me from the Struts. Thanks, everyone.